8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome, my peoples. Welcome to the Pro Fan Talk. I am Marcus Thomas. I appreciate you giving me your time because time is the only thing that you cannot give back. So it is very valuable. Sean Young is in the building already. Already my number one out the limo. As usual, Vince, better known as Edward McDowell. Vince, I ain't calling you Edward, bro. I ain't doing that. Make you sound too nerdy, man. I know you better than that. But what's good, man? Good to see you. Glad to see the people in the chat, all the people on the Facebook and the YouTubes and the Twitters and all of that kind of stuff. Rob Povia, what's up, fam? You on time this week. I appreciate you. So we got some good stuff, man. Again, the NFL is the gift that keeps on giving. We finally had the end of the NBA Finals, and it went down the way we thought it would. Jokic is a beast. I actually don't feel bad about wanting, or if I would have had a vote, I would have voted Embiid for the MVP. But Jokic put it down. He left no question. Undisputed. He is the MVP of this league, and it's what you do in the postseason that matters. So we'll get into that a little bit. I got a special guest we're gonna talk to in a bit. Man, we got the Eagles already. Everybody's still going gaga over the OTAs, and OTAs ain't nothing but practice. What else? Finally, the Phillies are heating up. And the interesting thing about the Phillies is, didn't they do the same thing last year? They did the same exact thing last year. They started off slow. It was rocky. And then, I don't know, somebody in the chat can tell me this, when they finally fired Girardi last year. What time period was that? I thought that was kind of either right before or right at the All-Star break. We're still about a month away from the All-Star break. So the timing is about right. Everything is heating up. The bats are heating up. We still worried about that pitching, so we'll see how that works. But we moving in the right direction, man. Let's see if we can keep these bats heated up. And for the love of all that is good, man, I hope our pitching can get it together, man. But I appreciate everybody in. I appreciate my first folks out of the limo. Let me see. And as usual, my first guests out of the limo are brought to you by Fan Up. Fan Up is the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA and MLB contests, and more. Win great prizes and sign up today. Use the promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. That is a $50 value. If you think long, you think wrong. You better get up, join that app, fanup.app, and get with it. So we're going to jump right into it real quick. I got a special guest today. I am going to argue the fact that besides Nakobe Dean, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, and Kelly Ringo, my guest right now technically could have been the start of this pipeline from Georgia to Philadelphia. And I'm going to bring him in right now. Today is my guest, Jumaine Jones. Can you hear me? Are we in there?
I can hear you.
All right. How we doing tonight? I appreciate you joining the Pro Fan Talk. Say what's going on to everybody in the live chat. Jumaine Jones, everybody.
I appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, man. We've been going back and forth, on social media. So I was like, let me reach out. After basketball was on my mind, man, but I'm one of them type of dudes. Like, I know I tell people I play basketball, but I'm not a basketball player. So I watch basketball, but I don't follow basketball. So I'm looking at it strictly from a fan's perspective, man. And you, as somebody that played the game, what was your thoughts and perspective on the way the finals went down?
Well, I was actually shocked, to be honest with you, that Miami was able to even get a win. I really expect them to sweep the series like they did the Lakers. I called that out, that they was going to sweep the Lakers, and I was shocked that Miami was able to get a win.
Yeah, man. Was it me uh or that last game? It seemed to me like Miami had opportunities to take control of the game, and it looked like Jimmy Butler was just choking, man. How many unforced turnovers did they have? It had to be like 4 or 5 in that fourth quarter. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people don't understand either, it's tough playing in that altitude in Denver.
Yeah,
That's
I
one of
didn't
the
think about
things
that.
that's one of the things that Denver really had an advantage on all year. Not that they wasn't a good team, it's just, they were so deep. They got 5 guys coming off the bench that could possibly start for other teams. And for them to come in and be as deep as they are, and they get to play at home in the altitude where most teams struggle when they
Right.
go in there. Because for me, I think Jimmy was really gassed that last game. And you could tell, the way he wasn't taking shots, and until late when he had to take shots. But
Right.
I didn't think they had a chance to win it, regardless of how well he played.
Right. It's interesting how it looked like he kind of reached his peak, and his peak wasn't enough, especially when all of those undrafted free agents they had with the Heat. Props to Spoelstra for getting them that far.
One of the things is funny because if you look at the Heat team, um, I wouldn't compare them to the 2001 Sixers team that I played for, but you everybody that looked at the Lakers team who swept everybody in the West, it's kind of the same thing that Denver did, and then you had this team that played extremely hard with the 76ers, and I felt like Miami was that team who was
Right.
very well coached with Spoelstra, and had a lot of guys that just really, really played hard. And then, they had the one guy in Jimmy Butler who they relied on when we relied on Allen Iverson. So it was a similar build-up, but, I can't say it was the same team.
Yeah. And my guy Pete is talking about they needed Harold. They didn't needed another consistent scorer, and they never got that. And what was the deal with him? How come he never? What was going on with him?
With who?
With Harold?
Well, one of one of the things, he broke his hand, and then they had won a game, and they was playing well. So I guess he felt like he didn't want to break the rhythm, and kind of sacrifice him sitting, rather than playing. But for me, after they lost the next game, he would have been in there playing.
Mm. Hey man, you never know when your opportunity gonna come, and if you ain't ready, you ain't ready. That's just the way
Somebody
it
else will
goes.
be ready.
Somebody else will be ready. Somebody else will get that shot, man. We talk about that all the time in regards to the NFL, that we're going through that kind of stuff now with Quez Watkins. Everybody's he's in his feelings because everybody thinks that he sucks, and it's like, nah, don't nobody think you suck. But when you watch the film and you had your moment and you didn't come through in that moment, that's what people are going to remember. So
And
yes, you made some catches, and yes, you made some big plays, but when that moment came and you didn't come through, that's the way it goes sometimes.
yeah,
Big time players make big time plays in big time games.
absolutely, and that's what big time players look forward to those moments, and
Yeah.
and it's unfortunate that people only remember you know things that happened late. What did
Yeah.
you do when the game was on the line? What did you do when we was, you know,
Yep.
when we had the opportunity to move forward? You
Yep.
know what I mean? So people always look at things like that. So if you're not ready for that moment and you don't play well, of course you're always going to be judged like people judge James Harden. And I say it all the time. He's been wet in the bed during the playoffs ever since he's been in the league.
Ever since. Yep. Yep. And right now, like I look at the situation, even last year, because last year I thought there was a good argument. I didn't care, but there was a good argument that Embiid should have won the MVP last year. That argument can be made. So if the argument can legitimately be made, whatever your decision is, whatever your choice is, okay. But to get to the second round, coming in this year, my outlook was I don't care what he does in the regular season. whether he wins an MVP, whether he balls out or he doesn't ball out. It all comes down to what he does in the playoffs and if and when we get back to the second round and if we get past that. So having said all of that, we get all the way to the second round and he just craps the bed and nobody showed up in that game and Boston put it on them and we got bounced again. Now everybody's going to look, even coming back next year, whatever he does in the regular season doesn't matter. He got to go through all of this nonsense. And you know, Philly going to give him the business next year. They're going to be in his grill next year. And nothing is going to change until he gets to the playoffs again.
Well, I just think, the same way they were with Jokic, Joker all the time, they talking about him winning 2 MVPs, but what are you going to do? Are you going to advance? So I think it's more now. And when people talk about, Joel should have won last year and, he should have won this year. I think he had excellent years, but I think one of the things that people haven't seen is just like really watch Denver play because they're not on TV that much.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people haven't noticed a lot of things that Joker had been doing, but he's been doing this consistently for a very long time. He's been that same person that he's been, and people just finally getting to see him because he was on a bigger scale and doing it. And of course, he's probably lifted his numbers up in rebounding and scoring, this year. But to me, that let me know how hard he worked in the summer to try to advance to be able to make the finals. And I think that's just something that Joel just going to have to make the sacrifice of getting himself in shape enough to be able to get down and bang the way that most people want him to be able to do it. But I think a lot of times, he get fatigued and, he bail the defenders out a lot by taking jumpers. And I think that's simply because of he's not in the tip-top shape to be able to be that aggressive as long as he's on the basketball court.
Man, I agree 100%, man, because one of the things on my notes to talk about is it seems to me like this era of basketball, when the hell did all this flopping start, man? All these dudes, all these big dudes is on the ground, on the floor. I mean, and as much as I'm an Ohio boy, so I love LeBron, but dude, stay off the floor. Stay off the floor. And I don't. When did that start? I don't understand that at all.
I mean, it's been going on. It was just very few players that was doing it. And you think about the Vlade D-Box. You know what I mean? Vlade was always the one that was flopping. It was quite a few guys that that did a lot of flopping. But I think it once the game changed, as far as before my time, you can hand check. You know what I mean? And even during my time, you can go out on the perimeter, but you can go out with an open hand. And now it's like you can't touch anybody. So I think that, guys are getting smarter to be able to try to figure out what way, they can get on the line, what way they can take advantage of the new rules. So I think that's what brought in, all the flopping. Everybody, wants to flop. No, I don't like to see that because I came in an era where, we could play physical and, playing for coaches like Larry Brown, you know what I mean? Like we was taught to foul every time to set the tone, be aggressive, foul every time, put the pressure on the referees. And, and the year 2001, when we played, like everybody was always complaining about how much we fouled, but we was aggressive from the beginning to try to set the tone. And now it's just not like that because everything is a foul. And, players are just adjusting and be able to do things. No, do I like the flopping? No, I don't, but I do understand it.
Okay, that makes sense. What is your overall thoughts on? Because we have this argument all the time talking about football, and it's the same thing. Like when I played, we reported to camp, we had 2-a-days. Now we call them new-a-days because they don't do nothing. They don't hit. They don't do nothing in camp no more. It's the same thing with the league. You get all these players that are sitting out on purpose. Like in today's NBA, what's your perspective of it? Because it's much different than when you played.
Well, I'm just going to speak of my experiences and what I think because, I haven't played in the new era. I just think you know, they're saying that guys are sitting out and they're resting guys, and to me, that's creating more injuries.
Exactly.
To me, like that's my opinion, because I come from an era where we worked hard. We set our bodies where we going to work every single day. Um, we worked hard every day. There was no days off for us. So when we had to go through all those things, we didn't really have that many injuries. But when you're sitting out 2-3 days and now you want to turn it on, like, your muscles been relaxing for 2-3 days, and now you're
Yep.
trying to go back full force. And I think it just happened creating more injuries, because if you notice this year, I think it was more injuries this year than ever, and I think it's simply because the guys just sitting out. And that's just my opinion on what I think, because I know what I had to do to get my body in the shape that it did. And if I took off one day, I always felt like I was prone to injury because my
Right.
body would be at shock.
Dude, we would say the same thing in the NFL. When you try not to get hurt, that's when you get hurt. Like you go full speed. You make a mistake, full speed, and all of that. And the minute you try to keep yourself from getting injured, that's the first thing that happened. Somebody twist the ankle. And I would imagine that's the same, concept in the NBA or whatever pro sport you playing with, especially when you playing at that level, man. You gotta have your body in tip top shape. I still think a lot of people really don't, especially from a fan, looking at it from a fan perspective. A lot of people don't understand when we say it's time to get in game shape. Like, what do you mean game shape? You've been going to the gym every day. It's not the same. It's not
Definitely
the
not the
same.
same.
When it's time to get it on, it's another level.
Yeah.
And unless you've been in that situation, like most people really don't understand, game shape is something totally different.
It's only very few players that I knew that can turn it on and off that way, and it wasn't many.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was one of those guys that I knew that could just. It didn't matter if he sat out and didn't practice or whatever. When game time came, like, I remember times this guy didn't even touch a basketball in the summertime, but when training camp came around, man, he would be lapping people in 17 suicides. He'd be laughing, and I'm sitting here like this guy has to have like this man just has God given talent, and it's
Yeah.
rare to have an athlete like that. It wasn't many. It was probably a handful of guys that can actually do that. But when you talk about being 450 guys, I would say maybe at most 10 of them could be able to do that.
Right. Now you played with Iverson and you played with Kobe. Now that is both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Like on what we just talking about. Iverson would show up and just his God given ability was next level. And Kobe had ability, but in my opinion, Kobe didn't have ability like Iverson. But what he may have lacked, his work ethic was second to none. You wasn't gonna outwork him. So like if I always think like if Iverson had like maybe 10% of that work ethic that Kobe had, Lord have mercy, Iverson would have been like all universe.
Well, I think if he had like 10-20% of what Kobe had in him, I think his career would have been longer. I
Absolutely.
think he would have had less injuries. Um, and I think he would have been more, like, I think his numbers would have been higher, to be
Yeah.
honest with you, man. And then just playing with Kobe, man, like I was one of those guys that always came in, 2 hours, an hour and a half before practice started, man. And just to come in every single day, and when I go in, Kobe's already in, drenched in sweat. Nobody knows what time he got in. Like, and as soon as I come in, the first thing he wants to know is how would I guard one of his moves. And it was like he was a perfectionist at everything that he did. He worked hard. He worked longer than anybody else, man. He was the first athlete that I actually played with and watched. Was like, man, if I got to work the way this guy is working, I don't want to be that good. That's how hard Kobe Bryant worked.
Yeah, yeah. That's man to see both ends of that spectrum, man, and just what was the difference between L.A. and Philly?
uh, I mean, you think about it. You see what Philly represents: grind, grit. I'm up in your face. As long as you playing, Philly wants you to go out and go all out and play hard and give us everything you got. And we're gonna be your worst critics, but we're gonna be your best fans.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what Philly represents. But then you got, LA is Hollywood. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna be as loud as Philly. It's not gonna be as, gritty as Philly. It's showtime out there. You know what I mean? It's Hollywood. So that was the big difference. Just showing up to games, you never know who you was gonna see in the stands, and it was fun, and the weather's always good in California.
Facts. That's the truth, man. Now, like this is another issue, man. That's just nation. Don't matter what sport you in. Like I remember early '90s. I'm at the vet. Just the way that is. You early 2000s, late '90s, early 2000s. Social media wasn't what it is now, and just the way that has not dictated, but it has kind of set the path to what a lot of these athletes are doing now, where all of a sudden your brand is in front of your game, and it's like it should be the other way around, but it seems to me, in my opinion, like they got it backwards. They want to, they want the followers, but they don't want the game to match it. So what do you think about that?
I think it's funny we was having this conversation, man. It's a lot different, having that because, I talk to my colleagues all the time, and I was like, man, I don't think any of us would have been in the league as long as we was in the league if the social media was the way it was. But then on the other hand of it, they're getting paid so much more money where they can do things privately.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that's going on with the game today, with having this much social media, um, I think guys that are coming up, growing up to, trying to get into the NBA, and the guys are there now, I think it's more that they're wanting what the game can do for them more than what they can do for the game, if that
Right.
makes sense.
It does.
You know what I mean? So it's more on, I want to play basketball because I can go get the big house. I can go get this. I can go get that. I can go get that. See, me, I grew up in a time where, like, I love basketball. Like, I really want to go out and play at the highest level that I can play. I'm going to compete every single night. I'll actually play this game for free.
Mm.
But since they paying, I'll take that check.
I'll take it. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think with the social media just has everything different. And maybe it has a lot to do with time as well. Things are changing, and how
Yeah.
do we fix that? I don't know the answer.
There's a guy I just saw him last week. I don't even know what the name of his page is. He's got a YouTube channel, or maybe it's TikTok or something, or Facebook or something. But he makes videos. He goes to all of the outdoor courts, and his whole video is about he's going to the courts and he won the ball and ain't nobody at the courts.
Yeah.
Everybody's gone. Everybody's either the kids ain't outside playing, or most of the kids that do play, they doing the AAU thing, the travel ball thing, and stuff like that. So, and he was like the kids, and this is, in my opinion, a big reason why you got so much international flavor that is going to continue to infiltrate the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball. Those kids over there are still hungry. And it seems like we got this false sense of security over there because over here, because of social media, and everybody's distracted looking at the wrong stuff. And you still got them kids over in Europe that maybe their family really don't have much. You got the grind. They got the grind that we had 30 years ago. These kids now don't have that type of grind.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, man. For one, I tell people all the time because me playing 8 years over in Europe, um, you never really appreciate being American until you travel the country, man, and be able to see, you know,
Agreed.
see the world, just traveling it, man. It's just to see those kids over there at a very young age. They've been grinding and and they're always been a lot more skilled than American players because we were the athletes.
Right.
And a lot of times the coaches were just like, you know what, man, this guy's so gifted. We just, we're just gonna let him play. You know what I mean? And over there, they're not as athletic, and they really got to grind to be able to work on their skill. And that's one of the things that we're lacking. And I think with the social media and the things that's going on over here is so superficial. I think it brings along a entitlement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
these kids now, it's almost like they expect things. You don't find kids playing on the court now because they was like, man, it's too hot out there. Why am I playing outside?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when I came up in the era, like man, that's where we started at.
Yep.
was out on the court because some gyms wasn't open or the older guys had the inside court, so some of us had to
Right.
go outside.
Right.
So I just think just the time, the social media. I think the parents has a lot to do with it, and it's tough on the parents because a lot of these parents want to give the kids more than what they had,
Right.
and which I understand, but it also has to be some kind of level of them having to earn a lot of things that they get. I know one of the things that I grew up, man, down in South Georgia. And when I was going to high school, my aunt lived on 140 acres of land, and we worked the farm, and we took care
Yeah.
of other people's farm. And it was more like, when we took care of other people's farm, I thought we was going to get paid. And the first thing she said to us was like, "Well, you ate last night, didn't you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That was it.
and a lot of people looked at it the wrong way, but I looked at it as like, man, we had to earn everything, even to just eat.
Yep.
And we worked so hard being home and have to earn so much. Everything outside of that house came so easy. Like people used to look at me like, man, Jermaine crazy. Why is he out there working like this and working like that? And I was like, well, I really wasn't doing nothing. Like you should see what we do at the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? So just little stuff like that, you know, making the kids earn it. And I just think it's just a mixture of everything, with the time changing.
Yeah, man. Facts, man. Uh, what was I about to say? Oh, Jeremiah Trotter reminded me because Jeremiah Trotter used to tell the story. His thing was that's why they called him the Axeman because that was his thing to do back way because he's from Texas, so he
Hmm.
was always chopping wood. If he got in trouble, he had to chop wood. If he was always chopping wood, so that generated that same work ethic that these kids. Entitled was the 100% correct word because most of
Yeah.
these kids are entitled, and it does come from their parents. What did that guy say? Hard times create strong men create easy times, easy times create weak men create hard times, and the
Hmm.
cycle continues. So, you
Absolutely.
know, most of these kids, I remember when I was coaching basketball and I had this kid on my team. My grandson is in here listening, so he was on the team. So I'm telling the truth. And this kid, he was a talented kid. He was a little bit talented than everybody else on the squad, but he ain't want to listen.
Mm.
And one time, you know, me and him got into it. He did something I ain't want him to do, and I kicked him off the court. Next thing I know, his mother's coming trying to cuss me out, this, that, and the other. And I was like, I didn't ask for all of this. You know
Right.
what I mean? And like that whole entitled thing, he just thought he was, everything in a slice of bread. And it's like, nah, dude, you all right, but you're not that good. So his mother wanted to put him on another team, and that's exactly what they did. And we ended up winning the championship without him. So, little stuff like that.
And that's the thing, and that's one of the things I'm speaking on, because even if I played on a team, man, my aunt and my mom, like I wasn't going on another team. You chose that you want to play on this team. This is the team you're gonna play on.
You gonna stick with it.
That's what's gonna happen, and that's just the kind of stuff. Every situation is different though, but that's just the era that I grew up in. Seemed to work for me and everybody else that was around at the time. But times have changed now, and the kids are a little bit more different and a little bit more sensitive to a lot of things than we are. So we got to kind of look at that too, because especially with the pandemic and all that stuff going on, you got to coach kids different. You got to talk to them differently.
Yep.
Like being a coach, one of the things that I learned, and even just being a teammate, you kind of learn what things you could say to certain players. Some players, you got to be on them a lot. Some players, they'll quit on you if you get on them. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times, and it's a lot more difficult now, with kids going through that pandemic. Well, not kids, but everybody going through that pandemic, experiencing something that nobody's ever experienced before. And I think a lot of kids haven't bounced back from that yet. So a lot of things we have to do different. We come from an era where we didn't have to experience any of that, and we think that we can still implement those things. So it's a tough subject to get into, but I still stand behind the way I came up.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you 100%, man. Because the one thing though, and it's funny how even pro coaches don't get this, in my opinion. I don't care if you coach in Little League, high school, college, or pro. At the end of the day, the most important thing you can do as a coach, you got to know your personnel. You got to know every kid on your team, and you don't deal with people, you deal with personalities.
Yeah.
So when I was coaching, I'm in South Jersey. So when I'm coaching the GT Stallions, I got the biggest and strongest kid on my team, but he's a sweet kid. I can't tell that kid go take his head off because that's not in him. Mm-hmm. But then I got the smallest, one of the puny kids who's my starting linebacker, who's a pit bull, and I can say, go get the ball, take his helmet off, separate the man from the ball. Like I could tell him to do that. You got to know which personality, to your point, you can tell what to. And there still are a lot of kids that come from that, that family or that household that didn't give them nothing. They had to earn it. But the majority of the kids, didn't get good grades and still got the PlayStation 5 and, all that sort of thing. So now I don't want to go. It's 98 degrees outside. I ain't going outside. Let me call my boy up and we're going to play 2K, 2K5 on the PlayStation or something like that. So
that was the thing in the household I came up in. We had to work and do all that, and we could have fun and all that kind of stuff. But as much as I love basketball, if I bring a C in the house, I couldn't play basketball.
Right. Yep. What happened?
So all the way around, like, you're gonna work and you're gonna get your grades. Yep. And you're not getting paid and you're gonna get your grades, and we're not celebrating that because that's what you're supposed
to do. I remember. How old are you, Jermaine?
I'm 44.
Are you 44? I'm a little bit older. I'm 52. I'll be 53 next month. And dude, I remember when you graduated kindergarten, you just graduated kindergarten.
Right.
They didn't throw parties for you. They didn't throw parties for you when you graduated the 8th grade.
Right.
You got the party when you graduated high school and when you graduated college. That's it. Now they got a graduation party for every level. And like these kids expect it. These kids go to the prom and they look like proms look like weddings now.
Right.
It's crazy, man. So again,
and they spending wedding prices on it.
Lord have mercy, dude. And dude, the entitled title that was spot on, bro. That was spot on. These kids having I saw the one the prom, they had a red carpet thing coming out the house to the limo, and dude, off the chain, man. And it's, you know, sometimes it's just like, and then you wonder
Yeah,
why these kids expect so much
yeah,
and don't want to do nothing. You
yeah.
know, you ask a kid to look something up now, he still look at you sideways, and it's like you ain't even got to look nothing up. You can just
Nope.
ask Google to do it for you.
That's it.
You know, and you still don't want to do that. So
Yeah,
it's a new age, man.
it is. It's different time, man.
It is. And but you know what? It seems like it's only like that over here. Everybody else, they still
Yeah,
understand what it means to put your
yeah,
nose to the ground and get your elbows up.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So
It has a lot to do with the social media, and you think about it most of the time. Even as parents, um, I mean, who's spending the most time with your kids?
facts.
You know what I mean? Parents are working. You know what I mean? They're in school most of the day.
Yep.
Social media is the way it is. So you really got social media and whoever they surround themselves by kind of raising your kids to be who they are.
Yeah.
No matter the time that you're spending with them, you're still spending a lot of time away from them as well.
Absolutely. Somebody gonna get your kids' attention.
Right.
So who that person is, that depends on you as a parent.
Right.
So, but I was lucky enough to have my mom and my dad. My dad was my first coach and all like that. And it's tough, man. And the other thing is like me as somebody that coached, the stuff you got to deal with parents, just trying to be a coach and
That's you do know that's one of the reasons why I never could coach.
I had to
Because
stop,
I'm
man.
I'm not the person that can handle parents,
Yeah,
and and
I understand.
and then people talked about the NBA, and I was like, no, because I'm big on not putting myself in situations I know I can't handle.
Correct.
Because me playing 8 years in the NBA, I've seen and been around players that talk to coaches like they kids,
Yeah,
and I'm not that person.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I'm not that person that you could say that to and talk to me because I respect people. I expect you to talk to me the way I talk to you, and that'd be hard for me. And if I'm running a team and I'm coaching a team and the parents come at me, then I'm gonna be 100% with them because I don't have time to deal with the parents. Like, look, your son is not that good.
right,
They're not
right.
gonna like what I have to say, and then it's gonna be more than
Get their
and I'm
feelings
just gonna
hurt,
be honest. So I'd rather not put myself in a situation where I know it's gonna be an issue.
man. Listen, that same thing. That's the reason why I coach. I coached 9 years. Me and this guy, he was the head coach, but matter of fact, his son is starting for the University of Kentucky this year. So I'm looking forward to because he got a shot to play on Sundays. But I coached with him for 9 years, and the last year I got into it with a parent for something that I ain't even do, and I was like, nah, it ain't worth all of this. And I'm volunteering. We got all these extra whistles in the bag, and you want to talk? Like, nah, I can't do that. I can't. I'm with you 100%. Did you see? There's a video that's going on. I don't know if it's viral yet, but it's this dude coaching basketball, and this kid dribbling the ball, dribbles around to the middle of the key and tries to do a layup, and he gets a shot block. And the coach blows away. He sounded like he from LA. He sounded like he from the streets because he wasn't playing that. So he grabbed the ball, he stopped, and he looks over at the parents. He said, "Hey man, don't do that no more, or don't bring him." He was like, "I don't want him to do you. I need him to go past the ball because he's the youngest kid on this team. So he ain't gonna be able to jump over the bigger kids here." And like he went off on the dude.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you don't want to bring him back, that's fine. But while he's here, I'm gonna do this. If he don't
Mm-hmm.
ever make a shot and he just does all the right passes and does everything I need him to do, that's a great game for him. Stop
Mm-hmm.
telling him to do you. Like he snapped on the dude.
Yeah.
So I was like, good for him, man, because that's
Right.
you see that in
Yeah.
every sport, and these parents are out of control, bro.
No, they way out of control now. They
It's
even
crazy.
jumping on referees and stuff. Now I'm like, man,
Yeah.
y'all jumping on referees now?
Oh my God. Baseball is the worst now. But it's all the same. And the situation with even though I am for it, the situation with NILs doesn't help because now there's more money involved and all that kind of stuff. It
Man,
was
I'm a real big mental health advocate, man, and I just feel like, I was a 19-year-old kid being drafted in the NBA,
yeah.
and now you're talking about giving these kids all this money earlier. You know what I mean? I'm all for the kids getting money, but I just think that it's a way that they could have done it where they could put it away until there was a certain age or something where, to put it in the escrow or something they could have done. But to be able to give these kids this type of money, that early,
It's dangerous.
you think about, the parents are the way they are now. The parents are going to be 10 times worse.
Yep.
Now, because you think about it, I always tell people, like, whoever you are before money, you're gonna be a bigger whatever you were.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, if you was a butthole, you're gonna be a
The
bigger
butthole.
butthole.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But the flip side of that, and in my opinion, that whole you are 100% correct, and I blame all of that on NCAA.
Yeah.
All of it, because you're not gonna play me and make 150 grand a year selling my jersey in the bookstore, right? And then kick me out of school because some booster bought me a pizza.
Right.
Like, stop playing with me.
Yeah.
So the game that the NCAA was running basically just blew up in their face, and they had many opportunities. I will never forget that. I remember when was it Rick Majerus, the coach from Utah?
Yeah, Rick Majerus.
He bought a recruit a pizza, and they hit him with recruiting violations.
Yeah.
So now you done screwed the kid. He can't come to the school. The kids that are at the school, they can't play in the turn. All of that kind of stuff because he bought the kid, and obviously the kid come from humble beginnings. Family didn't have much,
Right.
common story, especially when they look like us.
Right.
And I remember hearing that, and I remember that story of the kid from Colorado, Jeremy Bloom, who was the Olympic skier.
Yeah.
And they made him make that decision. Like, you can't raise money for your Olympic dreams, but you can play for the Colorado. You got to do one or the other. And I was like, how you going to make the kid quit? And they made him quit.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm like, the NCAA get exactly what they deserve.
Yeah.
But I think
And then just to open the gates up to be able to have these kids can just transfer at any time. It's almost like you got to recruit kids every single year now.
Every single year.
Like
the whole
that
sport
makes
is one and done.
That makes the coaching tougher.
Yep.
That makes everything about college basketball more like being in the NBA.
Absolutely. And now you got I read the story that what's the two girls? The twin girls that went down to Miami. The Cavender twins or whatever.
Yeah.
And they probably make more money from their social media than they do from their NIL deal. What you call it the same way?
The girl from LSU.
LSU, Angel Reese.
She said, I'm in no hurry to go to the league. I'm making way more money than all the girls.
Absolutely.
And I was like, that's crazy.
Yep. But that changes your attitude because, like, I saw the thing of her. She was signing autographs and she was taking pictures with some girl that had an Angel Reese Barbie doll or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed the other chick with the other girl from Iowa.
Yeah.
That girl in the gym hitting 30 jump shots, 100 jump shots a day.
She in there working.
Mad that she only hit like 76 of them.
Yeah.
And she working away. So
like that's a bad day.
Exactly. And you see the compare and contrast of this girl on social media, this girl in the gym, but which girl is getting the most attention, and what's gonna happen next year? Because that game is gonna be televised.
And that's the thing, man. I think to be able to give that much, and because you think about the girl from Iowa, she I'm sure she grew up having.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then we grow up in a certain way, and then we get something, and we want things. Your parents want things, and that's a lot of pressure on
A lot of
somebody
pressure.
that's young. I
Look at your
tell
boy
people all
Ja.
the time. I tell people all the time, like when I being a 19-year-old kid with 16 aunties and uncles, man, I was like
Pressure.
being 19. It was like the best day of my life and the worst day of my life at the
Yeah.
same time, because nobody could prepare me for all the stuff that I was about to deal with, because at 19, everybody else's problems became mine on
Everybody's
top of
problem.
mine, and me trying to be a part of that 1%
Yep.
for as long as I can do
Yep.
it.
Yep. Then all of a sudden, everybody's your favorite uncle or your favorite aunt. All of that
That's
kind of
that's a
stuff.
lot for a 19-year-old kid. So the
Absolutely.
pressure being on the kids now, even younger than that.
Yep. Yep. That, you know what? That's why I tell people props to LeBron.
Absolutely.
LeBron is not the best player to play in the NBA.
No.
But he is the best product the NBA has ever produced. For
Now
him to
that's
come out of high
that's what he's
school,
the GOAT for.
yeah, I would go. I'm old school, man. Kobe and Bill Russell. That's what I'm. MJ, like people forget, MJ had 8 years to get it together. He did it, but I think the biggest thing what people forget with MJ is MJ was the man who ushered in the ESPN era. It was
Right.
because of Michael Jordan that we have highlights in Sports Center and all of that kind of stuff. He started all of that stuff.
Well, one of the things I always try to get people to understand when they talk about Mike, man, like I don't count them 2 years he played with the Wizards. I don't count them. But if you think about the other years, man, he only played 10 years.
Yeah.
Because the other year he played, he was out with a broken leg all year.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
if you want to count that year, all right, he played 11 years.
Yep. And
People don't look at that. LeBron
no,
played 20 years?
yeah. And it's
And if
funny
you
even
ask me,
saying that now.
my thing is Jordan, Kobe, LeBron.
I'm not gonna argue with that. But I'm gonna take some of the old school. I'm still gonna take Bill Russell. I'm still gonna Wilt. To me, Wilt was kind of like Iverson back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have that work ethic. He was just gifted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Playing soccer at 14 at 6'10" or 11 or whatever he was in high school. He was just gifted like that. And then of course, you had, Kareem and Hakeem Olajuwon and like I grew up watching them dudes, man. And I always wonder, those guys could play today, but could these guys today play back then? I know Shaq could. I know MJ could, because
Very few.
MJ was the transition. Kobe
Very
could.
few could have played.
Nah. Steph Curry firing up all of them? Nah, man. He would have gotten body chopped, bro.
And that's the thing too. Back in that era, man, like if you was that scorer, man, if you scored 2-3 buckets in a row, man, you was about to get hit just to give you something else to think about.
For real.
Other than scoring.
Yep. Like them jokers went to the hole and they were like getting punched in the face and getting clotheslined. Them dudes wasn't flopping.
No.
That's for sure. Them jokers was not flopping. So my boy Vince talking about, what about Pippen saying Jordan wasn't good until he got on the team? At this point, it don't matter.
I mean, I think I think it's just a lot that Pippen's going through at this moment, man, and he's just lashing out, and a lot of people miss the attention they used to get.
Exactly. That limelight, man.
You know what I mean? So some people miss it, and they just come out of nowhere and just say things, and I'm pretty sure something went on between Pippen and Jordan that got Pippen lashing out like that. But I like the fact that Jordan's not even speaking on it.
Yeah, you know what? He don't have to. He can just sit back and still collect his money.
Right.
And he's one of them and Pippen is to that degree too, but not like, again, Jordan was that dude in his era.
Right.
You know, so I get the jealousy and all that kind of stuff, and
Right.
everybody want their flowers, but I mean, you can't really argue with that. It is what it is. And to your
Right.
point, he is probably going through some other stuff unseen, but it'll probably
Right.
come out in social media sooner or later if
Yeah,
it
it's a
hasn't
whole
already.
lot that's going on. Then, his wife dating Jordan's son. Like, it's a whole lot that's
Yeah,
going
see
on
that. See, I didn't even
that,
know all that. that's like that's crazy, man. That you know what, man? All of this whole Kardashian era of everybody dating everybody, and like,
Right.
Lord have mercy, man. You know what? We was talking about this the other day, man, and talking about like to that effect with the way social media is manifested now,
Mhm.
and how people kind of get into their feelings if somebody is trashing them on social media or trolling them or whatever. And it's like we played at a time where if somebody wrote something about you that you didn't like,
Mhm.
eventually you was gonna see that person in the locker room because they had to
Yeah.
come see you.
Yeah.
They were one of them dudes standing around with a microphone in your face.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, even here, if somebody from the Inquirer wrote something nasty, I was gonna see them in the vet, standing
Yeah.
in front. So you was gonna have to look somebody eye to eye
Yeah.
and deal with it. So there was a very nice balance of the way things work. Now everybody can say everything with no
Yeah.
consequences,
Yeah.
with impunity. So
Yeah, it's definitely time has changed all around.
man, every time somebody say that, man, I'll be thinking I'm the dude. I'm the get off my lawn dude. I'm the old guy. Like, like something like I never forget. And again, if my grandson's still listening, he know what I'm talking about. We when I coached the outdoor basketball league, and he brought his basketball shoes in a separate bag, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, I don't want to get my basketball shoes dirty. I'm like, you going to play basketball? You ain't that good when you need a separate bag for your shoe. Dude, I flipped on him. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, why do you need a separate? But it was that was his era, and you had your shoes, and then you had your hoop shoes, and I was like, listen, I had a pair of shoes, and those are my basketball shoes, my baseball shoes, my
That was
football
all
shoes.
that was everything, etc.
Man, oh my god, it's crazy, dude.
That's funny.
It's crazy. But before you get up out of here, man, tell me about the book, bro. I didn't even realize you had a book, The Last Man Standing.
Yeah, last man standing behind the game, man. It's just pretty much, if you didn't know, I'm real big in the mental health space. I really like to get out and talk with our youth about adverse childhood experiences because of the experiences that I had as a kid. Um, when I retired, I went through like a 3-year depression, just trying to figure out, um, you know, what was I going to do next. I've been playing
Right.
basketball my whole life, so my book is just pretty much about my experiences because kids and everybody always see the glitz and the glamour. So my book is just pretty much about, my adverse childhood experiences that I, grew up in and, things that I had to deal with during the time I was in the NBA and a lot of issues that I had to deal with even after I retired. Just try to give people a different light of a professional athlete. And, I call it, you know, the last man standing behind the game, so people kind of understand what athletes really go through. And we are part of a 1%. There's been less than 5,000 NBA players that ever in the history of the game put on a uniform,
Mm.
and that's part of an elite class. So I try to give people perspective in this book about you know what's life like, and I always feel like anybody that's had any kind of success has been through a lot, and it's really dependent on the person if they really want to tell their story or talk about it or not. And the last man standing is just one of those things that I use to be able to get the flat platform to be able to get out and get speaking engagements.
Mm.
I'm big on speaking on mental health. Just about my experiences, I go out. I work for a company called Educor, where I go out and speak with We have like 19 teams where I go speak to rookies through fourth year guys about financial literacy on how not to blow their money. So a lot of things that I do now, if you read my book, it kind of resonates with everything that I do. So all the mistakes I
Right.
did and all the experiences that I had and a lot of the things that I overcame is pretty much what I do now to try to
Dude,
help everybody else.
if you want to speak on, did you get an opportunity to talk to Ben Simmons?
No, that's
No.
it's fun. It's funny you talk about that because I was trying to being that I'm in the mental health space, I actually went up to Elton Brand, who was the number one pick in my draft, who was the GM, and I was talking to him about possibly coming on as one of those people to talk about to talk to guys that's going through things like Ben
Yeah.
Simmons was going through, but it was at the time where he was still there, and they didn't want
Yeah.
to make it seem like, oh, we hired him simply for Ben Simmons. So I
Yeah.
think during that time it was tough, but it's a lot of things now that I have in place that I'll be actually going in with teams and not only talking on financial literacy, but also speaking with guys on mental health awareness to be able to have those kind of conversations. And my book is a good read, man. So it kind of goes into a lot of that kind of stuff, that I went
Yeah.
through, and just to be able to talk and people to kind of read it, and you'll be amazed at how many times I've had conversations with people, and they couldn't wait to hear it so that they can be able to have those kind of conversations too, because nobody's open and transparent about things that they've experienced, and I'm very transparent
Right.
about my life and the things that I experience, and you'll be amazed at how many people can't wait to talk to somebody that's open to have those kind of conversations. So I create a lot of safe spaces for people to have those kind of conversations. I have events where people can come in and you know speak their truth, and have people
Mhm.
to listen who's not ready to speak their truth yet, but they can see that they're not the only ones that's
Going through it.
going through that thing, and that's always a big help.
That's what's up, man. I remember when my rookie year was '93, and they had just started having like the rookie symposiums, um,
Hmm.
and then it turned into the big thing that it is now a couple years later. But same concept, older guys talking to the younger guys and schooling them on what's what. Most of the guys still don't listen,
Right.
but you always have a couple of them that get it
Right.
right off the bat.
Well, that's
That
just
was
like that. That's just like I have to have speaking engagements, and I go talk to kids. Like if I got 100 kids, if I can reach one of them, man, you succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Because you're not gonna, you can lead a horse to water, but and that's the best you can do, man. And unfortunately, a lot of these kids, and shoot, grown-ups too, they
Right.
found out the
Right.
hard way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I used to have them conversations with people, man, and you know how people they want to input your lifestyle into their life,
Right.
and it's like, usually the questions are like, what you do with all of that money? If I had all that money, I would never do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, stop playing. Because if you did have that money, you wouldn't still be driving that Honda Accord. You
Yeah.
wouldn't be still living in that house. That's like, how does somebody lose all of that money? And was like, that's
Well,
very
I,
easy.
I always tell people like it's only people that haven't had
Exactly.
to be able to try to say what would happen. There's a lot of things that you experience that you're different with too. So
Exactly.
you know what I mean. But no, that's always going to be the case. When people
Yeah.
always have their opinions on things, and that's pretty much why I wanted to write my book too, to try to give people insight on how things really work.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff, brother. Well, we are pretty much at the end of our time, man. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Well, I
Um,
appreciate you having me, man. So my
we'll
book
definitely.
is out. It's on Amazon. It's The Last Man Standing Behind the Game. A lot of things that I do out in the communities. I'm a community warrior. I'm actually out there. I'm doing it. I'm doing speaking engagements. I'm in the corporate world.
Mhm.
I'm at schools. Any opportunity I can get to be able to share my knowledge with the youth or adults, I'm here. I'm big on adverse childhood experiences with the kids and with adults, because a lot of times as adults, we see us being crazy going to counseling. So I'm big at letting people know about going to counseling and how much it helped me just going to seek. And not that, it's okay not to be okay. And I just
Right.
try to get people to understand that, you're not crazy because you're going to counseling. You're just trying to fix who you are and better yourself. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people don't do that because the simple fact of worry about what other people think of them.
Right.
So
Yep.
I'm that
Yep.
person to kind of give them a new perspective on what it can do for you. And a lot of times I get a lot of breakthrough in that. So that's why I try to get out as much as I can. And that's why you see me traveling the world, just trying to spread the word.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, I
I
appreciate you
appreciate your time, man.
giving me your time, brother. Like I said earlier, man, time is the only thing you can't get back, so it is valuable, man. But powerful message, man. I appreciate you, bro. We definitely got to do this again, man. I got to get you on.
Absolutely. Anytime, man.
All right.
Just let me know.
All right, folks. That was it. Jermaine Jones, the start of the Georgia pipeline in Philadelphia. So that's what's up. But I appreciate everybody joining me. Sean Young, I appreciate you, brother. Everybody that was tuning in. I will be here next week, same bat time, same bat channel, man. So let's do it again. Jermaine, I appreciate you, brother.
All
You
right.
guys have
Thanks,
a
man.
good night,
Appreciate it.
and I will holler at you later. Hold on, Jermaine. Don't hang up yet.
All right.